That's my Yeti Blue microphone.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, mine's black. I almost bought the white one.
Yeah, I
So
got all the. Yeah,
oh
it goes
nice.
with my theme a bit. Yeah,
I do not have. I do have a white computer desktop, but I do not. I
same.
don't know why. I don't know why I didn't get the white microphone. But anyway,
Yeah,
all right. So
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
what's that?
I was just gonna say, I feel like you got to go all the way with the color scheme. It's kind of like a car, you
I
know.
know. I kind of feel
Yeah,
like I let myself down now.
no, it's fine. White chair. See the chair? Anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah. My chair's black. I'm really dropping the ball on this. So, all right.
It's not a big
Anyway,
deal.
all right. Welcome everybody to another Kryptonaires AMA. Tonight we have Fortunas Finance with us tonight, and Luke will be talking to us tonight. And I just want to remind everybody before we get into it that nothing talked about here tonight is financial advice. So please do your own research. But I think this one's a pretty interesting project. So do your own research. All right. Luke, if you want to just kind of introduce yourself and kind of tell us your background, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. Hello, my name is Luke Tall. I am a serial entrepreneur, I suppose. So I run a seven-figure e-commerce business. I've done that for the past 2 years. I'm a full stack web developer. So I know how to take an idea or a vision about something and bring it to life. Pretty much do that on a regular basis when it comes to coding, just not in the cryptocurrency world. And then I also have 10 plus of years in the corporate IT business world, believe it or not. I still have a full-time job. It's good security, got good insurance. So I don't see why not.
Absolutely no sense to give that
But
up right now, especially in this market.
yeah, it doesn't, it's a very consistent thing, right? Like a lot
Yeah,
of the stuff
absolutely.
that we do from, well, that's investing or entrepreneurship. It's inconsistent, right? You can't really predict what can happen.
Sure.
So it's good to have stability. But anyway, I bring that to the table as well. So, dealing with a bunch of different like personalities and personas and bringing people together, making sure that we're getting along and just getting stuff done.
Sure.
So that's my background basically. So I felt like I'm very well built for a crypto project. Never thought I'd run one, but I I felt a lot of pain in DeFi over the past like 8-9 months or so, basically, and I think my brain was trying to work out what the heck is going wrong. Why is everything not working like it should?
Sure.
And I wasn't really consciously thinking of this. I think I was just in a lot of pain, getting just completely crushed by every project I joined, basically. Everything was just going to zero. Nothing much I could really do about it either, especially for a
Right.
node project, right? You're just like, I guess I'm along for the ride here, and it's not looking good.
Sure.
Kind of like when you get an airplane, right? You ain't flying the plane. Somebody else is, and you just gotta strap in and just hope to God they know what they're doing. And unfortunately, a lot of times it seems like we crashed. But
A lot of the times they crashed and burned. Absolutely.
yeah, so I think what happened is my brain was just like, man, like obviously, like I was just like, I don't really want to invest anything. Like this is just like not a good situation, right? But then I had an epiphany one night, and I was like, things could work much better. We could do things just in a better way, right? Because it seems like the innovation was going like the wrong direction almost, right? It's like, oh no, instead of like 2% a day, I'm going to give you like 5% a day. Well, that seems like it's kind of going the wrong direction, right? Considering 2% didn't work. Or unlimited rewards, lifetime rewards, these ridiculous concepts that we had in the bull market, just
It
don't
was
work,
fun while it
right? Like,
lasted, though.
yeah, it works. It works when the money's coming in the door, right? This is just like algorithmic coins. They always work
Sure.
when money's coming in the door. It's just really anytime something bad happens or the market turns a little bit on you, like they just fall apart. Basically, it's like a house of cards.
Oh,
So anyway,
absolutely.
had an epiphany and said like, wow, things could be better. We can scale the rewards over time. We could have some built-in utility and buying pressure from day one. It's not going to be a perfect semblance of balance, right? But we at least need to get closer to that, because we continue to live in this like law land, like where money is printed, it just grows on trees, and I'm going to continuously expand my supply by 2% a day. Not going to work out so well. We know that doesn't work, right?
Yeah, it's
So
not
Fortuna's
realistic.
Finance, basically this project was built on all the lessons learned from a huge conglomeration of all those projects. So like play to earn, risk to earn, rebase, nodes. I was in all of them, so I knew all the problems. So
Yes.
basically built, that was the idea for the protocol. And I said, you know what, like I was sick of getting burned, and I'm like, it's time to actually do something about it. Because I'm the kind of person where I'm okay if someone wants to lead and they're doing a good job. I will fall in line and just like be a soldier, not a big deal. I'll fight if I think it's a good cause, right? I'll do my task or whatever. But if we have leadership or people that are just not really leading us in the right direction, and everyone's just getting like destroyed, well, then like I need to do something about it. So that's kind of my personality. Bit of a fixer, I guess you could say. My wife could probably tell you that in like 3 seconds. Like, yeah, he tries to fix everything. um, so that's just my personality. And that's basically why we have a crypto project, is to really change the direction of DeFi. Like we really, I mean, just this week, we had something really major happen with another protocol that was like supposed to be the shining light, and that just completely fell apart as well.
Yeah, boy, I
Um,
was I was pretty upset about that one, to be quite honest with you.
yeah, I was concerned about LMS in the first place, to be totally honest with you. I actually was the person that asked the question on their AMA, hey, what's going on with LMS? Like, why do we think that can work when basically in the history of all crypto, no algorithmic coin has ever worked? Like, that is
Right.
the truth. And so I was already concerned. I was actually the person asking that question. I think it was on a Cardinal House or Obsidian AMA of some sort. But anyway, not to give myself too much like props or whatnot, but I was concerned because Elements can only really work in certain conditions. Horde has kind of a better setup, or
Oh,
anyway. I
absolutely.
don't want to ramble
They're
too
yeah,
much, but
yeah. No, I talked to those guys quite a bit, so they've got it out of all the projects. I think they're one of the top ones right now, especially in this market. I mean, th've been carrying on for what 4.5 months now or so.
well, they have a predictable burn rates, right? I mean, this is a 1% a day for up to 365 days or something like that, right? So it's a
Yeah,
bit more sustainable in that sense because I kind of know where it can go
sure.
and
Yep.
take precautionary measures. Whereas if it's way too dynamic, again, this is kind of like Luna all over again. It feels like that's when you get into really big trouble, right? And it can be easily exploited and manipulated because people know where the floor is. They're going to buy the floor, ride it a little bit, and then sell off, right? It's a very
Right.
predictable pattern.
Right.
So anyway, I digress. I just feel like DeFi needs a little more innovation and a little bit more light, a little bit more realism. We need to live by some laws of life. Like supply and demand exist. Like they're still a thing. You can't ignore them. You can't
Oh,
increase supply
absolutely.
forever and just assume demand will catch up. Doesn't
Yeah,
work that
absolutely. I
right
mean,
way, right? So
yeah, I think people got pretty greedy with this last bull run, and they saw all the money that people were making. I mean, I was one of them that made a bunch of money, but I also lost a crap ton of money when everything crashed and all the nodes dried up, and so did all of that
yes,
money from
yes,
that. And I mean, it's just but we need that next phase in DeFi, and
absolutely.
if you guys can pull it off, then more kudos and power to you. Like I will be right behind you if you can pull it off. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I
let's
mean, our infrastructure is just simply better. I mean, the thing is, we're
yeah,
not doing what these other projects are doing, so there's a good start.
right.
It's like
You're
we
already
know what
off
not
to
to
a
do.
head start.
Yeah, it feels like we're in a really good position because I'm like, I know what not to do. I've seen it all. Like I've seen what all these things are done, and again, they simply just have not worked. So we need to do something a little different. That's what we're doing here at Fortuna's Finance. I mean, that's
Yeah.
at a very super high level. That's it. Like, if you don't want to learn anything else, that's fine. But at a very super high level, we're revolutionizing DeFi in the sense that we're kind of taking it to that next phase. We have an APY concept. I think people see that and they just run. They're just like, oh my God, no. But
Yeah.
if you dig a little bit, if you look a little bit under the hood, you'll realize, okay, it's not really quite the same. It's not exactly how these other projects are running.
Yeah.
So,
So I guess let's kind of get into the project. How many team members do you guys have?
I mean, counting the development team, it's probably like 30 people. I mean,
Okay.
there's quite a few people involved. So we use a development team. Keko Inc. is the name of the company.
Okay.
They've been very good, very, very good. It's a corporation out of Pakistan, and been working with them for about 3 months now. And they're already hungry for more. They're like, "Come on, what's the next phase?" I'm like, "Chill. We need to
Okay.
get through phase one first. We need to launch this
Right.
project first."
What
But that's
so
the
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, that's the development team. We have an experienced marketer. So that's Natalie. It's our CMO. She helped launch Avion Finance, actually. As I think raised like $100,000 or something for their pre-sale. Not
Okay.
exactly sure where it's gone, but again, I'm not sure their mechanics or whatnot. But she has experience in the DeFi space, and then we also have another marketer on the team that's more about building, personal relationships and stuff like that. Really one-on-one type of kind of situations.
Okay.
We have a writer in house. Unfortunately, going to be leaving us at the end of the month. He's got university, so it's
Gotcha.
unfortunate. But and then we have 3 full-time moderators with one security admin for Discord and one, like part-time modder, just kind of fill in and help us out because team is not the moderators are from Telegram. Actually, we start off on Telegram. Just a little backstory. So they need a little help on Discord. They're already pretty well trained now, but we
Okay.
have someone that steps in and helps every so often on that. So
Nice.
it's about like 25 people. I would say if you said that, what's the core people like actually working on the project? I would probably say it's about half of that, right? Because the development team,
Gotcha.
there's a lot of people, but we're likely interacting with just 3 or 4 of them. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Gotcha. Okay. So that team over there, that corporation, like,
Mhm.
so just trying to think of how I want to word it. I don't want to come out and say something wrong, but like with them being over in Pakistan, like
Mhm.
is there any like rug proof or like them like back doors from coding, or we've just seen so many rugs from different countries. I mean, even here, but do you have any kind of reassurance for the community? I mean, for yourself and for the project about that they can't run away with, money or the project?
Yeah, that's what the audit's for, right? To look for those type of things. So we do have an audit through SpyWolf and a KYC. So they're doing automated security checks as well as a manual review of the code. So that's what that's in place for. That's like step one. That's kind of like the basics. Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Step two, which is I think typically not the case or something that people don't really monitor too well, is we have ownership of the contracts, right? The contracts are all under my wallet address, and everything is being run through me. So like, no matter who deployed them, the actual true ownership of the contracts is through me, and also the hosting of the web application, the DApp, is also under our control as well. So
Gotcha.
that's something
Okay.
that I think a lot of people don't do. They kind of just say, "Oh, I have my dev team. I just trust them to do something." But
Right.
they've been great about transferring ownership of assets as they get completed. So
Okay.
that's like kind of the big thing is you got to make sure you actually have a handle and you actually physically own the contracts. Which the thing is, these guys are good. Like they were like, yeah, that was the plan anyway, Luke. So that's
Nice.
the big thing because if you don't have control over the contract, like there's so many functions you can write into like the token contract to literally pull out liquidity, change the liquidity address. Like there's so many things
Right.
you can do.
Yeah.
And so it's important that you actually own it, which again, I don't think a lot of projects like kind of prioritize this. They may be aware of it, but maybe they're just like, oh, it just can't happen to us. So that's
Right.
something that we've been doing with them. And then all of our payments and work are done through the Upwork platform. So
Okay.
that just basically means that we're going to be fully covered from a financial standpoint as well. And also, if anything were to happen, we could also leverage Upwork as well. So it's a way more secure deal. I think a lot of time you're like paying a
Yeah.
developer in like some cryptocurrency and just
Yeah.
hoping they produce, right? But like this is a little bit more
Oh,
structured. It's a
absolutely.
little bit
Everything's
more
by the books, and
professional.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a way better structure, and these guys are pretty experienced. Like Ali, the founder CEO, him and I chat a bit. I think he's been in crypto for like 5 years, so
Okay.
he's been around and knows like the things to look
Yeah.
out for basically as well.
Okay.
So
And what was the company called?
It's Keko Inc. It's Keko.com. So it's
Okay.
QUECKO.com. And they
Okay.
do a bunch of different stuff. They've done some dexes, some forks of ohm or DAOs, I think there were. So anyway, all their projects in history are actually listed on the website. So
Nice. Yeah.
this is
It's
definitely
not
not their
some
first
rinky dink little
project.
operation out of someone's garage and they're scamming people from
No.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like we actually on our website, we're like big on doxing and transparency and stuff like that. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So they're also on that same page, and since they have a website, they've done previous works, like it's all listed. So I know everybody by like first and last name on the team. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a pretty legitimate deal. And again, I mean, this is other thing people don't think about or know about is we are paying quite a bit for that quality, right? It's not it's not the cheapest solution you can get. That's for
Right.
damn
It's
sure.
not a
Brand new,
$500 Fiverr deal.
not even close. So it's like, I'm in the project, like just to give you a general sense, like I'm in this project with my own money for I think it's about 50,000 USD. So
Okay.
like I think development's about I probably shouldn't share that actually, but development is a good chunk of that. Let's just put
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right. So when when are you actually going to be launching everything? Like I've seen a couple different dates of things. So
yes. Yeah, I'm not surprised you have seen several dates because we've had some dates. so little backstory on the dates, just to walk it all the way back. We were supposed to go live in July at some point, sometime mid late July. That was the plan. We thought it was going to work out. We had issues with the previous marketing team. I will say I don't think they were doing a whole lot or like working the right angles or something. But we basically did a private sale and we raised like $7,000. We were supposed to raise like 25 at least.
okay.
And so that right away, that was early July. Right away, that kind of made us stumble. And I let them stumble for like a week. I probably shouldn't have, but I was just trying to like, okay, fine, you'll get it together. But at some point, it was mid July, and I'm like, okay, you guys are done. Like, give me my money back or give me the funds. They also had control of the private sale funds, which again, probably not a good idea in the first place. But we got the private sale funds back to us. I basically said, all right, we need to scrap that whole marketing plan. Did not work, obviously. That team didn't work either. So we basically revitalized the project, I would say, in mid-July, where code was close to being ready, but the actual marketing aspect was just like zilch. It was just like not happening.
Okay.
So we basically restarted the project from a marketing and community building standpoint in mid-July and said, okay, we're gonna have to push the date a bit. It's probably gonna be more like early August, mid-August. And then this is just like crypto or just business 101. Something doesn't work, you got to pivot and figure it out, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we were like, okay, where are we going to launch? Okay, let's figure out where we're going to launch. Oh, okay. Like we got connected to Liquid Capital through some mutual friends, mutual people that we know in the communities, right? And influencer space, etc. And they're like, oh, you should like launch on Orbital Swap. They just acquired it. It's going to be all good. So we said, all right, we'll wait. We'll launch later in August so that you can get Orbital Swap together and get us on it, right? Well, then we saw it happen this
Yep.
week. So
Yep.
we were waiting on Liquid Capital, and unfortunately, that just didn't. It kind of fell through, and so now we're going to be doing the fair launch next week. So that's the 22nd to the 25th. Anybody can participate. This is not a hey, if you don't have whitelist, sorry, go away. No, this is you can participate if you got some BUSD in your wallet, anywhere from 50 to 2,000 BUSD. You can participate. It's on GemPad. We're already listed, KYC and audited, as we said, and yeah, that'll be open for about I guess it's probably total of 4 days, I guess. But the 22nd to the 25th, and then we'll go live sometime on the 26th, early 27th. We do have some airdropping to do, right? We need to give our private sellers their tokens. That won't be through GemPad. That was a literally send your money to this wallet, which I totally respect people that actually got like they deserve it. They deserve more rewards. It's a 25% discount for private sellers, just so everyone's aware. So it's not like they're getting 200% gains off day one or something like that, but they are getting a little bit extra, right, in tokens, and they deserve it. Like I said, they showed a lot of faith in us, right? So we have to do a bit of that, and then we'll go live sometime around the 26th, 27th time frame. It'll be a bit of a stealth. It's not going to be. We don't have a specific time, declared, just because we're going to give ourselves some space to breathe, do a little bit of mainnet testing ourselves, and then take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there an allocation for team tokens, or are you guys participating in the launch as well? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, there are no real team tokens. Now there will be some allocated. So I would say there's two major categories that you have to be concerned about. One, well, not concerned about, but you probably want to be aware of, is one, about 40% of the supply is going to be allocated to rewards. So, unlike other projects that said, hey, we'll just like build the supply as we grow, we said, okay, no, we want to allocate quite a bit of our supply to just rewards. So 40% of the supply will go to rewards. And then there's about, I want to say like 10 to 15% that we said for utility, for marketing. But my plan with those tokens is literally to hold them. I don't want to be selling any of those tokens whatsoever, but I think there's about like 10 to 15% of supply that would be deemed as like team under regular conditions. We named them utility, which is just like future utilities. Honestly, I'm just going to be like, let's just dump those in the rewards wallet. And then I think the other part is a little bit of marketing, a little bit of dev. But again, I don't have any intention selling tokens. The only tokens I really want to build the treasury with is volume, right? Like that's where really a lot of our revenue comes from. And then NFT sales. And then anytime someone starts a stake on the platform, it's a little bit of a fee as well. So that's where really the revenue generation is going to come from. So there will be no, like in the general sense, there really is no team tokens. Like people aren't getting paid in their native token.
Right.
The only person that's going to have a control in those tokens is going to be me. And again, I'm not selling them. So it'll just be in the contract owner's wallet, basically. So that's a bit of the breakdown.
Yeah. So let's kind of go over some of the tokenomics and all of the 6 different what do I want to call it?
Staking options or reward
options.
Yes. Either one.
I was going to say APY, but I didn't want to just say APY.
Saying APY is true, but it's like you were saying, it's a bit of an injustice. I would say I would agree.
Yeah. So let's go over all of those.
Sure. So from a tokenomics standpoint, we're approaching the problem in a little bit different way. So a lot of times people write a smart contract and what happens a lot of the time, guys, is that you write a smart contract and you're stuck with that code. There's nothing you can do about it. That's the smart contract. That's what you're dealing with, right? So typical issues on these projects is either one, someone is minting too much, or they're expanding the supply too much, or they run out of rewards, like something like Strong. They couldn't keep up, right? There's only so many tokens they could have, right? So the Fortunas Finance approach to that is we have the ability to the smart contract has the ability either to mint or pull from an existing reward pool. So instead of saying, oh, we're only going to have a reward pool or only going to expand the supply, we actually have the ability to do a bit of both of those. But in the beginning, it's all going to be from a reward pool, right? So from a tokenomics standpoint, it is going to be deflationary, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, but basically it will be deflationary from day one. But if we need to down the road, let's just say we get really big or something crazy happens, we do have the ability to expand the supply if needed, right? So we don't want to run into the same problems as other projects where either, hey, we're just increasing the supply way too much, or sorry, we don't have any tokens left to give you, right? Those are both two big issues that projects faced. We resolve those with our not somewhat unique. I think they're actually truly unique tokenomics where we can do both. We're a bit of like a Swiss Army knife, if you will, if you think about it from a tokenomics standpoint. So that's tokenomics at a root level, is we have the ability to do both. Important because we need to be able to adapt and adjust and pivot, right? We've seen this. Projects that don't pivot or adapt well, they just fall off. They just die, basically. So we basically have a bunch of different levers. That's just like the high level. We also have a bunch of different levers where we can burn more. We can put more in liquidity. Like we have a lot of different things when it comes to volume. So we do have a 10% buy, 10% sell tax. So on way in and way out. And basically the options that we have there is 1, put it into treasury, 2, increase liquidity pool, or 3, burn. The cool part is we have the ability to switch those numbers. Basically, it's like, hey, maybe in the beginning of the project, we want some more in treasury. We need to kind of build up some funds for marketing, more development, more utilities, etc. But maybe down the road, we're like, hey, we need more in liquidity, or we need to burn a lot more because it's just getting, inflation is getting too high. So we have the ability on the actual taxes themselves to adjust those. And they're not like, I would say they're about 30% less than what you typically expect on an APY project. And the key part is we have the ability to kind of pull those levers if we need to. So again, this is tokenomics where we actually have the ability to control it a bit. We're not at the mercy of, oops, we don't have enough supply, or sorry, that's just how the smart contract works. Supply just expands by 2% every 30 minutes. So that's the key thing to know on Fortuna's Finance, is that we're not going to be left like holding our own bag after our smart contract, or just our tokenomics aren't good, right? So, and now the staking options themselves. So that's kind of tokenomics and why it's a bit different. The staking options, we have 2 guaranteed options and we have 4 variable APY options. 2 guaranteed are, hey, just by acquiring the Fortuna's token, it's actually called Fortuna. Acquiring the Fortuna token, you get 150% APY. You can literally just claim that through the DApp. It's a very simple process. Literally log into it, connect your wallet, and click claim. And those.
Do you just leave the tokens in your wallet, or do you have to put them on the DApp? Okay.
You don't have to put them on the DApp. It'll just start accruing. You don't actually have to physically do anything. They just, as long as they're in your wallet, you can claim.
Yeah.
And so that's the first option, and that is the lowest option, and for a reason, right? It's great you joined us, and we would like to thank you for that. But ultimately, that doesn't really, further the protocol too much, right? It's like, okay, that's cool, thank you. But that's kind of the mistake I think a lot of projects made, is like, oh, thanks for joining. Here is literally everything we have to offer. That's probably not good, right? Like, that's literally like saying on the first date, I would like to go all the way around the bases. It's like, okay, probably not a good idea. You might want to be a little bit more cautious with new people, right? So some people told me that's a bad strategy, Luke, but I think from just a relatively conservative sense, like, I'm not like, I don't know, bromancing with somebody like the first time I meet them and say, oh, let's do $1 million business deal. I'm not doing that, right? Like, I'm just trying to get to know them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's a lot of the issues with projects I've made, is that like, we're just going to give the farm away, basically right away when people join a project. Here's the farm. That's not how real life works. That's probably, DeFi shouldn't work that way either, right? We can innovate a bit, but we can't be like ridiculous, right? So that's the lowest option. I just wanted to kind of give some insight into why that is. But the second option is basically staking your tokens against liquidity. Now, this is a bit more involved, right? You got to go get liquidity tokens, and you actually have to, on the DApp still, but you actually have to get liquidity tokens to do this part, and that's a 520% APY. So the only caveat, that's guaranteed. The only caveat is there is impermanent loss. So if token price goes down, you can lose value, and then also there's a 30-day lock. I mean, you can't take those out for 30 days. So a bit riskier, right? As you can see, a little bit riskier. Yeah. It takes a little bit more effort, but you get a higher APY because it actually helps the project. Adding liquidity does help us. So that's why it's a bit more. And that's, in general, on Fortuna's Finance, the more risk you take, the better the rewards get. And that's how life works as well. So we're not ignoring laws of life on this project. We are trying to adhere to them in some sense. Now, again, this is still DeFi, so we still want to be a little creative, but we don't want to be just absolutely just crazy where things just don't make sense.
Sure.
So those are the first 2 guaranteed options. Now, this is the fun part about the project. If we didn't have the first 2 options, I would be fine. But I wanted to give people the ability to like pick and choose and have a little bit safer options, right? Because I know
a little more passive.
Risk-averse. Yeah, that too actually as well. Yeah, especially the wallet one. That's super passive, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But if you're looking to get more active, you want to play, you kind of want to play the ecosystem a bit and get better rewards. The war options are from 25,000 to about 138,000 APY. So I think it goes like 25, 32, 90, and like 137, I think they are.
Yeah.
And how those work is basically every single one of those options has a max, what we call like a max daily return rate. So like the first war, which is also known as a stake. In our platform, we call it the stakes wars, at least the 4 variable options. So like it's gamified. So we say, oh, you go get to fight against Spartacus. Some of these like Roman enemies back in the Roman Empire times. It's all based on Roman Empire theme, by the way. So we gamified it a bit. Like we didn't want to just be like, oh, just put your tokens in, and like that's boring, So we say go fight against Spartacus, right? He's like the guy you can get 25,000 APY from. And so the way this works is basically the lower the APY, the higher your reward rate starts at. All the rewards rates start lower than the stated APY. So example would be on Spartacus, your maximum rate you can get per day is 1%. That will start at 0.75%, and it'll grow as you stay staked against Spartacus. So the more you fight him every single day, it goes up by 0.5%. So like in the beginning, you can win. Basically how it works is your win rate, we call it, is every 30 minutes you fight like a miniature war against Spartacus, or a little battle against Spartacus. You have a 75% chance to win. So that means on average, starting out, you'll get 0.75%. Now, is it guaranteed? No, because it's actually random. So like every 30 minutes, it's a random, it's like sometimes you'll lose, sometimes you win. You'll average out about 0.75%. So basically, the longer you stay staked, so let's say on day 4, we have like 3-day grace period. So on day 4, that'll increase to 75.5, and it'll go 76, and it'll go 76.5, 77. So every single 24 hours, that rate gets better, right? So your rewards get better as you stay staked against Spartacus. So that's how all of them work. They just have different percentages, right? So like the second war, I think, is Attila. That's 1.25% per day is your max, but you start out at 0.625% as or 50% win rate, which equates to 0.625% per day.
Okay.
So the harder the war gets, the lower the percentage starts out, where I think the last 2 options you got, it's up to 2%. You start out at 0.4%. And the last one's up to 2.5%, and you start out at 0.25%. So, and the thing is, we're talking about days here, right? So if we take the last option, let's just talk about the last option. It's called Hannibal. That, if you can imagine, my win rate against Hannibal is 10%, okay? Because 2.5%, if you're thinking about it, okay, I get 0.25, that's about 10% of the time you're going to win battles against Hannibal. If you think about it, it grows by 0.5% per day. Well, that's like 90 times 2. That's 180 days to actually get the 2.5% eventually, right? To actually achieve that APY. That basically means you got to fight Hannibal for 180 days. That's why we say it's risky, because, well, in 180 days in DeFi is a long time. Let's just be real.
Yeah, that's like dog years.
No, it really, I mean, that in like crypto terms, that's probably like 6-7 years. So like, and that's why we say they're riskier, because like you don't know what's going to really happen to a project in 6 months. Like we can maybe make some educated guesses and predict, but there's really no guarantees, right? Now,
sure.
There is a bit of a twist. Does that make sense so far? Actually, let me just stop there.
Yeah, no, I think it does to me. Absolutely. I don't have any question about it so far. I was curious how these come about, like where these numbers come from. Someone in the community did ask what's the randomness based off of?
Yeah, the randomness is based off a multitude of factors, like some things off the blockchain, how difficult is the block to solve. There's a bunch of different factors thrown in to make sure that it's actually random. The team approached me originally and said, hey, let's not do random. That's actually like not like it could be predictable. They've taken like 4 or 5 different factors from the blockchain basically to create that randomness. So
gotcha.
It probably can be figured out, right? But like that's not really, if someone wants to figure it out, that's great. But on average, you're going to be still getting the 0.75, 0.76, et cetera. So it's not like, but that kind of makes it a little fun, right? It's a little bit of chance involved. It's like, oh, some days I might win like 0.8 when I was supposed to win like 0.75. Great. That's good. That's cool. That's fun. So It's random. Can it be figured out? Maybe. But yeah, it's based on a few different factors off the blockchain.
Okay. So that's the different allocations. So what about? I see on your website that you can purchase up to 5 days of rations, and what are those used for?
Yeah, I was gonna get that. So just to be clear, by the way, on a single wallet, you can be in any or all of these at a single point in time, right? So maybe you want to do a mixture of a bunch of different things. You can do that in a single wallet. I think there was some questions before, hey, like, do I really need like 6 wallets? It's like, no, you don't actually. Like,
That's
all these are
handy.
all, yeah, these are all like separate instances in the smart contract. Like the stake number basically is taken into account, and that helps calculate the rewards basically. And then
Okay.
it measures the length of time you've been in that war, etc., or
Sure.
that stake. So just to be clear, it's all through the DApp. You can fight literally all 4 wars at the same time. Staking gets liquidity and keep some in your wallet, and that'll all work.
Interesting.
And that was important, right? Because I always hated to be like, gosh, dang it, like
Yeah,
I just
it's
get
kind of
one
irritating
thing.
having to have multiple wallets.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I have a project in mind that drove me nuts, and they had transfer tax, and oh man, that was painful. Anyway,
Yeah, there's a couple of
I'm
them
sure
there.
people know. Yeah, I'm sure people kind of know what I'm talking about, but it sucked. It really hurt. We don't have transfer tax or anything like that. Like I'm a free market kind of guy. I don't want to prevent people from like owning a bit of supply or something if they want to. That's up to them.
Right. Sure.
But anyway, so basically, like I was going to get to this. So like, how do you actually get better rewards though? These things ain't free. This is the idea. It doesn't grow on trees. Okay. So this is where rations come into play. So what rations are is basically every single war that you're in. So any of those variable options that we just talked about, the wars we call them, you basically need to allocate or give those 0.25% tokens per day. You can get up to 5 days of them. So it'd be like, to your point, 1.25% every 5 days. And that scales as the rewards grow, right? So it's staked plus rewarded amount. That's what it'll actually cost you to stay in the war and get those better rewards. So you can't just get the rewards, like you can't just stay in there and be like, oh, I'm good. I'm just going to fight Spartacus for like 60 days and I'll get my 25,000% or whatever, right? You actually have to actively support your stake and be a bit in the mix, right? And kind of be involved in the protocol. We've seen this, right? Like this is no mystery, by the way. Most protocols that do well, there's some level of activity or some level of engagement that has to happen on a regular basis. And money, good example. Grape, good example. Like I like Horde, I guess, is less of a better example, but still, like people are usually compounding or creating new plots or whatnot, right? Yeah. So think about any of the examples today. What works? Well, engagement works. So, again, but like you said, you can take a more passive option. You just won't get as good as rewards, right? So that's
I
how
like that you have kind of a mixture of what people would like. If they want completely passive, then they could go with the first option and just keep it in their wallet and leave it at that and set it and forget it, and they'll get some but not a ton. And then if you really want to make some money, then you can choose your other 4 options or 3 options there with the variable APYs.
Yeah, that's totally the idea too. I mean, I was talking with someone on Discord like, hey, like I really don't want to participate. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's not for everybody. I didn't tell them, hey, you could just keep it in your wallet and call it a day. Part of me thinks maybe they just weren't quite feeling the concept. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could definitely take a more passive route, right? Like you don't have to be super actively engaged. Like even James Pelton, we were talking the other day, he's like, I don't know, this is a lot of effort. Like I'm in like 80 projects. It's like, okay, I get that, James. Like I get that. I understand. So like the good news is if you happen to start a war and then you just totally forget about us, right? You're not gonna be completely penalized. One, you get all the rewards you've accrued up to that point. And then 2, you still get your 150% APY as if the tokens were in your wallet. So it's still basically if you start a war and you forget, if you don't pay your rations, by the way, the war does come to an end. The good news is you get all the rewards that you've kind of accrued up into that point, and you still get your 150% APY as well. So it's not like a huge, like yeah, I don't want to like completely ruin the rewards if people happen to forget or like they just didn't get to it or whatever
Sure.
it may be. You still
Yeah,
get
no,
those
that's
rewards as if they're in your wallet.
that's
So
definitely nice because there's, when everything was going big, I was probably, I don't know if I was in 80 projects, but I was definitely in multiple double digits, and there's some of them that I just completely forgot about, and I thought about them the other day, and I went and checked on them, and all of my everything is just gone. I'm like, you suckers.
yeah, that see that's unfortunate. It's like you still like want to treat people nice even if they forget about your project. So
Right, right.
um, we were actually trying to figure out how to do this because with the development team, because originally the idea was just send them back to people's wallet or like, well, we need an interaction in the smart contract. We also need gas. And I'm like, okay, good point. So we came up with this idea that your soldiers go back to camp basically. And that's when they get the 150% APY. So
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
there's
So
one
what?
last thing
Yeah,
about the protocol really quick. So if you don't want to wait, by the way, and you're an instant gratification junkie, I mean, I'm a bit of that sometimes myself. We do have NFT upgrades. So there's heroes and cavalry. So
that was
heroes
going to be my
basically.
next question.
Oh, okay, perfect. so so we do have NFTs. Heroes boost your rewards anywhere from it increases your win rate, right? So your win rate it will get boosted from anywhere from 2 to 10%. The pricing of those is based on the liquidity pool, so it's like 0.25 to 1.25. So whatever the liquidity pool is at that point, that's the pricing of the NFTs. And heroes basically instantly boost your rewards at a very super high level. So if you were to add like Constantine the Great, he's the best hero to a war, your rewards would go from like 75% win rate to 85% win rate. On some of the bigger wars, that has a much bigger impact, by the way, I will say. Um,
Okay.
but
And were
as a,
these randomized for the NFTs? Like which one you would get? I don't remember if you
you can
said.
actually you can do either or. So you can either actually go after the one you want and just acquire it with Fortuna tokens, or there's actually a random chance hero NFT that's the same price as level 2. It's scaled towards level 1 and 2, of course, but there is small chance that you can win 3 to 5, levels 3 to
Gotcha.
5.
Okay.
So, two different options on the heroes. The cavalry, we just have straight up options. Cavalry is more long term because it just increases your max daily percent by a small percentage. So it's 1% to 5%. Cavalry is again more of a long term play because really cavalry's value is over time, right? Because if I increase my daily percentage, that's awesome. But if my win rate is still kind of low, it doesn't have a huge impact until later in the war. So I would say either cavalry is more long term or when I'm like really in the thick of it in a war or a stake. So
Gotcha. Okay.
those are the two different options.
Okay. Who did the team in Pakistan, did they design like the game aspect of it as well? Like the graphics and all of that, or did you have someone else do that?
Yeah, that was actually our development team that actually designed the DApp. I basically sent. It's funny because I basically sent them like, "Hey, it should look kind of like Age of Empires. It should look kind of like Civilization, right?" Like,
Okay.
sent them a few games that I liked, and that's what they came up with. And I'm not easily impressed because I do a lot of this stuff, I guess, myself. So
Sure.
but I was like, whoa, this actually looks pretty sick. It kind of people were even saying, oh, it's a game, right? And I'm like, no, it's not a game. It's not a game, I promise. It just looks like one, it looks sweet. I know, but it's not a game. So
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, I mean, from what I can see, I mean, all of the graphics they look pretty nice. Um, so earlier when we were talking about those guys, you had mentioned they were kind of eager to move on to like phase two. What is phase two?
yeah, great question. Phase two is basically a few different things. We have some minor things or relatively minor things. So one are going to be leaderboards. So that would be like, hey, if you have good behavior in the protocol, you can actually win extra rewards in a given week. So, hey, maybe you acquired some more Fortuna tokens, you paid your rations, right? You're in multiple wars, like basically rewarding good behavior is going to be the idea behind the leaderboard. So that would basically just encourage people to practice, good behavior of the protocol, and ultimately, if you do that, then you can actually win better rewards. And that'll be based on a formula that's kind of TBD. We're still kind of thinking about that, but that would be like the first minor enhancement, I would say. Then our second idea is around guild wars, which is basically grouping of wallets. So grouping a bunch of wallets together to have a leaderboard similar to leaderboards, but that would be more individual. This will be more like groups of people.
Okay.
We actually already kind of have a guild, which is interesting. It's called La Crypta. It's a bunch of Italians, but
Okay.
I think it's like goes back to World of Warcraft days. But the idea there is like people can group together and kind of like compete, right? That I think that'll be fun.
Okay.
So those are like next two iterations. I think the more major thing that we're trying to do by end of year is head-to-head battles, and that's going to be you're going to be able to mint your own kind of character as if you were in like a MMO RPG game, but it'd be like minting at your own NFT, building out that character with like sets of armor, weapons, kind of like
Yeah.
you would build out a character in a game, basically. And then you could actually take that and fight against other people for Fortuna tokens. So
Okay.
obviously, the better your character, the more you invest in your character, the better you're going to be able to do in the war, the head-to-head battles. The good news about that is one, you can win more. Two, you can also lose more, but you can also win a lot more tokens pretty quickly, right? Um, but what's cool about that is it uses existing supply versus using a rewards wallet, for instance, like the wars do. So I think head-to-head battles would be big. I think they'll probably be. We kind of are already thinking that would be super deflationary in the sense that like that should take care of quite a bit of the run rate we have, which I think is about like 1-ish%, I would say on average, over time.
Okay.
So we're aware of that, right? So we're like, okay, we need to create new features that are more lucrative, right? So head-to-head battles would definitely be that.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of like the next big step, but I also think it's going to be a very big step. So I think that would be a good start for us.
What's the
And
time
then,
frame on that? You said by the end of the year?
yeah, by end of year, that's the
Okay.
idea. Because like we got to build up some treasury funds and likely focus on a bit of marketing with the first phase of the project, and then kick that off. I would say in the next like 30 days ish. I would say 30 to 40
Oh,
days.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, that's going to
Is
be
it
the idea.
okay? So, how many, like, off of your white paper, how many of the items have you guys been able to check off there? I mean, there was quite a few on there. I'm trying to pull it up real quick.
Which ones are you talking about? Sorry.
1 second. Sorry, I closed the darn thing out.
Oh, that's okay.
Uh, let's see here. So, like, all of your coin listings on like Coin Market Cap, CoinGecko, the NFT collections, those are coming pretty quickly. Um, the dashboard version 2, was that kind of what you were talking about in phase 2?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
leaderboards, guild
Yeah.
war type
Yeah.
thing. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All
correct.
right. Cool.
Yeah, so
Uh,
CoinGecko, CMC, that'll be much easier now that we're going to be on Pancake Swap instead of Orbital because I think Orbital was listed at all. So
Right.
yeah, we'll be working on that post launch. I think you have to have a certain number of volume for CoinGecko. I can't remember about CMC, but yeah, that would definitely be the idea because a lot of people like trust CMC basically in CoinGecko. We'll also be looking at doing some advertising on some smaller sites like coin sites to where just to get exposure to Fortuna as well.
Sure.
So, but that would be a core focus for us post launch for sure because I think it's just kind of the basics, like it's expected. If you're a true
Right.
project, you're on those sites.
Right. Is there any
I
type
know.
of like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, since it's kind of like a play to stake, play to earn type deal, is there is like your people that you want to market to, are you going to put something out there, maybe like an app eventually to where it would be like an easy onboarding for new crypto people and get eyes on you?
Yeah, we do have discussion. I think we had a discussion with Cyril, I want to say, which he's from Parrotly. I think he had said we have an option to do that like right away, basically. So definitely be reaching out to him again in regards to that because I think you can actually onboard with like a credit card, basically, instead of having to go through the whole like get the
MetaMask.
USD, put
Yeah.
it on your MetaMask or Trust Wallet, and all that. Swap it on Pancake, then go to
Right.
the DApp. There's a lot of steps there, right? So um,
Yeah,
that is the
I think that
idea
would
for
I think that
sure.
would do really well for you if you did something like that.
Yeah, and the thing is like, of course, they're starting in DeFi. It's a crypto project, right? But ultimately I would like to bring it to real-time strategy gamers like League of Legends, Age of Empires, Civilization, kind of those games I mentioned, because
Sure.
we bring them something and say, hey, it's kind of like a game, but you can make cryptocurrency if you play it well. It's like, okay, well, that sounds cool. How do I do that? Right. So I think we'll have some interest in the gaming world as well. The thing is, like, I want to talk about this really quick. I think this is super important, actually, is a lot of times these crypto projects, especially the gaming ones, have really gotten ahead of themselves and said, we're going to build this play to earn game. And those never work because you need a ton of money to really build a good game, especially when cryptocurrencies involved on the back end. So a lot of those just actually a lot, I think all of those have basically failed so far. And I think it's because they haven't really started off doing something a bit more easy, basically. Like staking DApp is a little bit easier to accomplish than a full on P2E game with crypto, right? So,
Right.
our idea is to actually gradually build into that versus just like go head heels first into a play to earn game. It takes millions of dollars and likely years to do something like that. So the idea is to actually ease into the gaming industry, kind of acquire some people from that space, build
Sure.
it, build a good foundation, and then actually build a game on top of it. Because I think if you try to do it too soon, this is kind of like I don't know. It'd be like Apple, like trying to build an iPhone before they even had like the Macintosh computer, for instance. Like it's literally just like ridiculous. Like that technology didn't exist. They would just fail. The Apple wouldn't exist if they did that, right? Like, oh, we're gonna build the cell phone first. It's like, yeah, but like
Right.
no one even uses a cell phone. Like people are using PCs right now. What are you talking about? So, and if they built an iPhone, it would be shit and no one would use it, right? Because the
Yep.
technology is just not there. So that's
Yeah,
kind of like the play
absolutely.
to earn game analogy. I would say is like that we're way too early, I think, to actually build something that great. It would have to have a ton of funds and like tons of years in development actually to make something like that happen. That requires a foundation that's a little bit more simpler in nature. And like, yeah, I don't think gamers would like to hear that, and some people may not like to hear that, but I really think that's the case, unless you got like venture capitalists coming in and throwing money at you, right? Which, hey, that's probably in the cards if we do well enough, right? So
Sure.
um, that's kind of where I think gaming platforms have made a bit of a mistake. Is like small time timers have basically said, "Oh, we're just going to do this game." It's like, okay, good luck. Like you're you need the really good developers basically, and you need a ton of money to do it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I know a team of people. If you're interested in ever talking to him or whatever when that stage comes, he's got some pretty solid credentials. So, but anyway,
sure,
so
sure.
so there's one question from the community. They said, could you cover what the liquidity pool amount would be in the beginning, since the NFT cost is a percentage based off pool?
Yeah, liquidity pool is going to be estimated value right now is 50,000 BUSD. So that'll be the liquidity that from the get go. So whether we like if we get the soft cap, like we're going to put most of the liquidity basically. I mean, that's kind of be the kind of the deal. Which okay, yeah, that sucked for us, but I've been um, our goal basically. The reason we have to make that happen, by the way, is because we want the price to be the exact same of pre-sale and fair launch. In order to do that, you have to match up the right number of BUSD with the number of tokens that you have, right? So that'll be the liquidity pool from the get go. No matter basically what we raise, that'll likely be the actual liquidity pool. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I really like one comment going through your stuff. I really like that you guys have like an independent treasury, like that
Mm.
it's not based off
Thank
of
you. No
it's
one
just,
says this, by the way. Everyone's like, "What the hell are you doing?" So
well, it's
go
just,
ahead.
I don't know. I think doing something a little bit against the grain might do you well. It's just different than what everybody is used to seeing, and so hopefully it does well
Yeah,
for you.
what Scott is talking about, everybody, if you're not aware, is that we're not going to take the money that we make off this project and literally dump it somewhere else. Like, I'm sorry, but like that doesn't make any sense. And I know
Right.
every other crypto project does this, but if you think about it, let's just take an example from real life today that we know of. It's like me going and buying some Apple shares, right? I keep using Apple, but this seems like a common example people know. So like, let's say I go buy a handful of Apple shares, and then I go ask Apple, hey, what are you doing with the capital that you just raised from me? They would be like, oh, we're going to go invest it in Samsung, Verizon, AT&T, and some of our other competitors. You'd be like, okay, what? I mean, shouldn't you be like investing in yourself and like building new iPhones and new MacBook Pros and stuff like that? And you'd be like, well, no, but we're investing. It's like, what? So it would be that kind of like an example, right? It's like we're kind of like again, we're running this like a company. A company, you take the money that you make and you put it back into the company to build it bigger and better, right? Like with better features, better products, better services, the stuff that your community actually wants, instead of like trying to figure out how do I get 7% APY on some random project I have no control over. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It blows my mind. Like, I understand people want to partner together and like do things together and whatnot, but at the same time, you have your core competency. Our core competency is making gamified DeFi things, right? Like that's Fortunas Finance 101. And if we use our money somewhere else, we can't be doing that. Basically, like we're kind of taking away from our own core competency. Now, if we get big and we get like massive, okay, maybe we can make some like small investments into like these things and get a little bit of return on money. It's just sitting on the wayside. But in the beginning, I don't see any money sitting on the wayside. I see money being put to use for marketing and new development, because we're kind of in a rat's race, right? Like we need to kind of build things quickly from a utility standpoint. A lot of the times, let's just say like projects have done very well from themselves, but they never execute on like their next idea. We absolutely have to execute, and part of that's going to take money and time and resources. So I don't want to worry about how do I get 10% APY. Who gives a shit about that? Yeah. I care about what we're building next and what else can we do to build our own ecosystem with our own token and create more additional value for it, right? Because it has value already through rations and NFTs and stuff like that. But we need a lot more value, right? Because if I can create more value for the token, you know what that does to the floor or the price? It steadily increases the value, right? Like there is an actual floor because it actually is worth something. So that's what we're looking to do, is just make a more valuable token. It's like it's already somewhat valuable, but we can't do that if we're like throwing money, like, I don't know, getting 8% or some stupid rate of return. The only way you get thousands of percent of return on a startup company, guys, is like building crazy stuff that people love and that like garner a ton of interest from the market. That's it. That's how you get thousands of X's. Everything else, I think, is just kind of bullshit and doesn't work, in my opinion. We've seen it. Doesn't work. So anyway, I completely get a little excited.
100% agree with you. Absolutely. You build something simple that people need and want, and they will come and they will invest in it, and they'll keep investing in it. And I mean, look at all the stupid products on like Amazon and stuff like that people just love and buy up. And I mean, every single time my wife shows me something new off of Amazon or some Facebook ad, and we're like, oh my God, I got to buy this dumb thing. And I've never even used it before. I ever heard of it, and probably won't ever use it, but it was really cool. And so I bought the dumb thing.
But so that in that example, right, what the company should do is create more cool stuff, like that is complementary. That's what, like, they don't go, oh, I'm going to like go build, like if they build like a doormat or something, they're not going to say, oh, I'm going to go build like a rubber ducky. No, like that doesn't make any sense. Build another doormat, like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so it's more like a company, like this is the problem with like a lot of DeFi projects. They're not run like a company. You got to run like a company if it's going to grow. If it's going to work, it's got to be like economically and financially sound, like a business is. So
absolutely. Let's see here. I guess we're going on about an hour now. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to discuss real quick?
I mean, let me see what else we have.
My questions, and you've answered them.
I think the thing I did not mention, by the way, is that we don't, like, when it comes to using those rations on your stakes, so to stay staked, what's kind of like crazy is like you're actually doing yourself a favor. All the stuff, all the rations are actually burnt. So they're all actually sent to like a burn address. It literally decreases the supply for the Fortuna token. So
little by little. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't really benefit us from a treasury or like revenue standpoint at all, but it literally helps the protocol because it decreases the supply. So anyway, I just wanted to throw it in there. I know it's
Sure.
like a total random tidbit, but I think we forgot to mention
No,
it.
but I think that was an important one, though.
Yeah, I think originally we even wanted the NFTs to have like to be burnt, but they were like, Luke, you can't be burning like 1.25% liquidity pool on a regular basis. Like that's insane, Luke.
Yeah,
Like
that might be
anyway.
a bit much.
Yeah, they're like, you're gonna run out of liquidity, you idiot. No, they didn't say that, but like they're like, that's a bit aggressive. Okay, chill with the burning stuff. So this is why it's good to have people that know what like what their their area of expertise is. Like I know of crypto, I know a lot of the faults and issues, but it's like you got to have people to bounce ideas off of that. Like, yo, hang on, check yourself on that one because
Oh,
that's not a
absolutely. Got
great
to have a
idea.
solid team. Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. To keep you in check. So, alrighty. Yeah, I think we covered everything. So I think we'll just sign off here. So, is there any last words that you want to leave everybody with? Oh, before we go, the last thing I want is just let everybody know when your soft launches and then your stealth launch.
Yeah, so the fair launch / pre-sale is going to be on GymPad starting, I think that's Monday. Yeah, starting the 22nd. That's 12 a.m. UTC. So it actually might be the 21st for some people, like it is for me. But it's the 22nd, 12 a.m. UTC on GymPad. If you literally go to GymPad, we're like the third or fourth project on there, basically. And then it runs until the 25th at 11:59 p.m. UTC. And then our stealth launch is going to be sometime on the 26th or early 27th. So that's the and again, you don't have to have whitelist. If you're first hearing about us, you love what we do, you love where this is going and where it's headed. Even if you don't understand all the mechanics and you still want to get in, you can participate. You don't need to be on the whitelist or anything like that. So it's totally public.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I appreciate everybody that joined us today on this AMA, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. So, everybody,
Yeah,
have a good night.
thanks for having me, by the way, Scott. I think I
Yeah,
forgot to mention
absolutely.
that. I
I
appreciate you
appreciate
guys
you
having
being
me
here,
on.
and we'll talk after this for a few too. So,
Yeah, that sounds good. All
yeah.
right, bye
All
bye,
right.
everybody.
All right. Have
Have
a
a good
good one,
night.
everybody.
All right.